My name is Allison Brooks. I am the Sustainability Coordinator here at Randolph, and we are doing a little work in our pollinator garden today, and we're actually doing an expansion too. So that's what Dr. Warren and her daughter are starting to plant for us, and then we're also going to be weeding this last year's garden a little bit and getting it kind of geared up for spring. Being in this low spot, it collects a lot of leaves, so it was free mulch, and now we're just going to kind of thin them out a little bit so the stuff can start coming up. And it looks like we already have a couple little honeybees coming in. Oh, she's under stuff now, but I saw a dragonfly earlier, so it's been pretty cool. We have a couple of different habitat improvement projects going on right now. So over by the dell we have a Meadow Creation area, and so that is basically a low mow area that we also seeded. So it's mowed twice a year, once in the kind of late fall and then once in the spring, and that brings everything back, keeps woody shrubs down, so it keeps it grassy and meadow rather than forest succession. We have a lot of hard edges in urban landscape, and that's like society's weed. So these spaces kind of give you that middle ground. So it's not forest, it's not lawn, and it gives all those things that need that type of habitat a place to be. We also have rain gardens on campus, and so those are dual purpose. One, in that they're a better habitat for insects, birds, that kind of thing, but then also they collect water. So we have a lot of roofs on campus. All of them drain down, and instead of having them just go out into the lawn and not really serve a purpose or kick into the stormwater system, we have these rain gardens which act as little kind of retention spaces. So they hold on to the water, let it soak in naturally. It's a nice little wet area. This is actually kind of functions as a rain garden, sort of. There's actually a stormwater drain in the middle of it, so we have a grass patch to make sure no dirt starts going in there, we don't have any erosion issues, and then that's where the pollinator garden is around it. And this year we're doing an expansion, so this brings it to about 800, maybe 1,000 square feet. So it's getting there. Every little bit counts. They don't certainly have to be this big. The nice thing with pollinator gardens is even just putting one pollinator plant in your garden is super valuable. Sometimes they're harder to find, especially if you're looking for native varieties. You can't necessarily go to Lowe's or Home Depot to get them, but if you have some of those smaller nurseries, your local nurseries, they can usually get the plants for you, or they might have some of them in stock. Usually something like echinacea, maybe bee balm, black-eyed Susans, those are really good options that you can find commercially typically. The other one is just to do some seeds, and you can get wildflower mixes pretty much anywhere you find seeds. They'll have something like a bee feed, hummingbird mix, something along those lines that are specifically focusing on giving them more food sources, so pollen and nectar. So our plants over here we have gotten from New Leaf Farms, which is a landscape company that has actually really nice selection of native plants. So today we are planting, we can walk over there and I can show you. So this year we are planting yarrow here in the front, and that has kind of an umbrella of flowers. It's a really bright red, really pretty, and those are especially nice if you have really undesirable dirt. So if it's not well draining, or it's really rocky, or here in Virginia, very heavy clay, yarrow is your plant to go with, because they can thrive in pretty much anything, and you can neglect them and they are perfectly happy to keep going. Then we have some New England aster, and this is actually a dwarf variety. If you find New England aster, typically it can get up to 6 foot, so it's a big plant. The nice thing with asters are they are a host plant for the pearl crescent butterfly. So that's the flower that they need to have caterpillars and complete the life cycle. They also bloom really late in the season, so they're one of your flowers. It's a nice little blue kind of daisy flower that blooms in like October, November. So it's that last little push for all of your ground nesting bees, things that need to kind of stock up, your honeybees that need to stock up for the winter. That gives them that last little bit that they need when most other stuff has kind of stopped blooming. In the middle we have swamp milkweed, which is the host plant for the monarch butterfly, which is definitely needing some assistance right now. Monarchs, I think they're saying something like 80% decline in their population, which is pretty astounding, and they're one of the butterflies that actually migrate. So they come up north, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, really far north in the summers, and then they'll go down to Mexico. Obviously not necessarily the same butterfly, but having milkweed stops along their way in their migration path is really important to keeping them going. But the flowers also provide sources for all kinds of other butterflies and everything too. And then, so we went with a swamp milkweed variety. They like to have their feet a little bit more wet, which will be good for this kind of middle spot. This New England aster also likes it a little bit more wet. Then on the other side we have some coneflower and some more yarrow. Coneflower echinacea, that one you can even find like at Home Depot, but any of the coneflowers really, they almost look like a dancer. So they have like a seed cone that comes up, and then they have like a little skirt of flowers. It's pretty. They have all different kinds of colors. I think in here we have pink coneflower, but up in the organic garden we have a white coneflower. It just kind of depends on, well, what the nursery has and different varieties, keeping it interesting. And so that really kind of shows you can landscape in your garden with them. There's a lot of different options. If you're unsure or you don't know what's native for your area, there's usually a lot of pretty good resources if you look for something like, native to, and then you put in your area. So for here we would do the kind of Appalachian area, Central Virginia, and you search that and you actually get quite a few different lists of native plants. And we are actually also working on one too that we will hopefully have publicly available this year that you can get on the sustainability website. And so it's just a big Excel spreadsheet. It has something like 400 species in there. And there's different trees that are native, like your red buds, but then also all kinds of ferns, vines, all of that stuff too. Let's see. We have quite a bit in here this year. There's something like 90 or 100 plants. I actually lost count. We totally ordered 140, but I put a bunch of them up in the organic garden as well. We have a couple spots that we wanted to put some more pollinator plants in. So some other plants that we have in there, bergamot. So that one is a fun flower. I like to describe it like a firework. So it's a purple, kind of big round bloom. Hummingbirds love it, hawk moths, butterflies, things that kind of have a longer tongue to be able to get down into the flower. But they need their food too, compared to some of these other easily accessible things that'll help with like bumblebees that they aren't super hard to get into. So they kind of all serve their own little purpose. What else? We have blazing star, which is actually one of my favorite flowers. It grows these really tall spires that are a deep purple, and then their foliage actually kind of looks like grass. So it's really light, kind of spiky, which is nice for some contrast when everything else is really, as you can see, kind of leafy. So it's some nice contrast, and the spires are really beautiful. And they seed out, and even their seed heads retain some late fall interest, which is kind of nice. Then we have smooth blue aster, and then we have obedient plant. Obedient plant, pink manners is what its short name is, I guess. It kind of also has like firework look to it, but the leaves are a little bit more lobed. And then this variety is a pink plant, and they're really pretty. I mean, these are super healthy plants. They've been outside all winter, so the nursery cuts them back in the fall, and then they stay outside all winter, and this is actually the growth that they've already put on. We've had a very warm spring, and that's kind of helped give everything a kickstart. But yeah, so we also do some seeds in there. you'll notice that we have some orange flowers over here, and those are actually not native. So those are an annual. When we were doing the pollinator garden, we did put in a few different seed mixes. I've been accumulating a lot of different seed mixes, so we kind of put everything in there just to see what would happen. The other nice thing about using some different annuals is it gives you that color that first year. Like this wallflower was the first thing that, well, the daffodils were the first thing that bloomed, and then the wallflower. But to give it some spring color, because right now everything is just kind of kick-starting. To give you that color and something to hold you over until it really gets into full bloom. When you see it in like July, that's when it's in its peak, everything is blooming and it's gorgeous. But having kind of the stair step of different flowering times gives you something to look at while it's getting started. So it's not just natives. We do prioritize natives, like all of these plants that we're putting in are natives, but then we will seed with both a native mix and then some like cosmos and zinnias. We did a lot of cosmos in this one last year. And they did really well. It takes the natives a little bit longer, so they are perennials. Sometimes the first year you put them in, you may not get a lot from them. They don't look very lush, you don't get a lot of color necessarily. They're still growing. What they're doing is putting all the emphasis into getting their feet really well established in the ground, so they have that nice root system. And then your second and third years are when you're going to start seeing more color coming. So giving you some annuals to kind of hold you over until your perennials can really take over and be the showstopper for you. But the nice thing here is it's full sun. It is in a lower spot on campus. It is a little bit harder to mow just because if we have a really wet spring, it gets kind of hard to drive around on. So this is kind of a nice purpose for it, and also for the habitat and all that it does with that. Do we have any questions?
We've got a lot of nice comments. Fran says, "This is such interesting insight and commentary. You're so smart and enthusiastic."
Thank you.
And then Heather says, "We have a ton of Russian sage. It's in the backyard in Colorado, and the bees love it."
Oh yeah, that one's a really good one.
Yeah.
It's not native, especially to this area, but it has these really long blooms on it, and it really is also kind of like the yarrow in that it can take rough soil and really do okay. It can have some heavy soil, clay, and really be in hot spots, up against the house necessarily, where it's getting, heat from the house, heat from the sun, and it'll do well, which is something to be desired for some of these plants. But yeah, anybody else?
Laura says, Riley and I, her dog, walked by earlier when the ground was being turned.
Yes.
Is that when they dig into it? Okay.
To get it started, you see we have a lot of really dense lawn here. So the guys pulled up the sod, and we're actually going to be putting that in a spot that we needed sod at anyway, so nice recycling there, so it's still going to get used. And then what we didn't use, or what was still there, we take a till and kind of really turn it up to rip up the roots, so that hopefully we don't have a ton of grass coming up. You can see some grass ended up coming up, and that's not bad. I mean, what we're going for is habitat, right? So we need structural diversity. You want different heights. You want to be able to have some denser spots where things can lay eggs, and it can be really well sheltered from any weather. But we do want our perennials to do well, and kind of give them a kickstart before the grasses take over. So that's kind of where all the tilling comes from. It doesn't take too long. And then it's all good to go. It also makes it a little bit easier for these guys to get their roots into the ground. We have quite a bit of rain coming our way, which will be nice. It'll work the seeds into the ground that we'll be putting on, and then it'll also give these guys a really, really good start. And it'll hopefully be pretty colorful here shortly.
Yeah. Oh, Kristen asks, when you plant non-natives, is that an experiment? Do you already know it's going to thrive?
Usually for the non-natives, we use things that we know are going to do pretty well, like zinnias. They're a really fun cut flower, especially. A lot of, if you do a lot of floral arrangements and everything, having a section of zinnias is really nice for that. They have these really beautiful flowers, and they come in so many different colors. They do self-seed, so we may see some come up this year. That's where kind of the experimentation is. We don't know how well it's going to come up the following years, how prolific the seeds are going to do. We're not out there taking off seed heads and reseeding. We're just kind of letting nature do its thing. And so it'll be interesting to see, because we really had a lot of cosmos come up last year, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't end up cutting them back, which is a lesson I learned. So cosmos are supposed to be like a 3-foot, 4-foot plant, which everything in here pretty much is. There are some lower spots, but for the most part, it's kind of in that 3-4 range. Well, cosmos, if given the chance, will grow as much as they want. So we ended up actually having some that were taller than me, and I'm 5'3", so they got pretty big. And then we ended up having a windstorm come through, and since it's pretty open here on front campus, I mean, that's one of the beautiful things of it, it does get quite a bit of wind coming down off the hill, and it ended up actually just pushing the cosmos over, which, because they're such a resilient plant, they were okay because they just started growing back up. So they're actually laying down and you could see new growth coming up. But they took a lot of the stuff with it. So we're going to be cutting those back if they come back up, just to kind of keep them in check.
Yeah, a quick question. What about the rain gardens?
Yeah, so the rain gardens, we haven't done any, I take that back. Over by Smith, we have one of the rain gardens. There's actually one facing the front lawn, and then there's also one between Smith and Wright. And so both of those have quite a few different natives. Let's see. I don't know if I can think of any off top of my head. We did put in 2 new red buds in Smith. They had a couple of trees that just weren't taking. They weren't native either. I think there was some variety of a myrtle. And I think in the same kind of storm that took this down, it kicked a lot of branches off of it, so they were looking kind of rough. So we traded those out with some red buds, which bloom early. They're native, and so that's been the newest kind of development with those. But they're scattered around campus. We did put signage up on them to make them a little bit easier to identify. Most of them are on the back of the main hall stretch. If you're ever walking on campus, they're the ones that, 3 of them are named, but then the other ones, any kind of big, deep depression that you see, that is a rain garden. And you may not see the downspout on it, but it is there, and some of them actually have a connection to stormwater if they do get too much water. But those are nice. I think pretty much everything in there has been really well established, so we don't have to do too much with it. That's the nice thing. Like with this, we have to do a little bit more to get it going, because it is new. Year 1, year 2, and then maybe if we do another one, we'll be able to use it kind of as an experiment and show, like, this is what 1 year of growth looks like, and then 2 years, and just kind of show how we keep it going. And
That would be such a great summer research project for someone.
yeah.
Bethany asked, she missed the first couple minutes. What other native flowers other than yarrow? You can just quickly name them.
So New England aster, smooth blue aster, and those 2 bloom really late, which is nice. The yarrow, blazing star is one. Echinacea, coneflower. Those 2 are ones that you're probably more likely to find in commercial nurseries. What else do we have? We have obedient plant. Pink manners is another name for it. We have milkweed, swamp milkweed for us, but the other one also had a couple of other varieties as well. Then, let's see. Then we have coreopsis. I think there's some that I'm forgetting, but we have, I think, 10 different species that we're putting in this one, and then also some seed as well.
Yeah. Well, KB says, great job.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions for Allison? You can type in. Yeah. It's so beautiful out. I'm so happy that we're all doing this outside and, respecting social distancing, but still doing something for...
Those 2 are related, so...
Yeah.
they're close. But, yeah, so it is really, really beautiful. Yesterday and today, so we can get it in the ground, and then we'll get a good bit of rain here coming, so that'll get everything the good kickstart that it needs. A little bit, while we're waiting for some questions maybe, as we're going through and planting them, so these are 1-gallon pots, so they're a pretty substantial size. They're definitely not the first year of growth, so the nursery overwintered them, and this is either their 2nd or 3rd year. So we dig the hole, obviously, but we are also putting in some organic fertilizer to give it a kickstart. as well. We're really hoping to see these guys take off, and because they're not brand new, hopefully get some blooms out of them right away. There's actually a couple that already have blooms coming up on them. Like the Coreopsis has these little yellow buds that are coming, and those will be really pretty once they do. And then you just kind of put the dirt back on, and it's pretty. Once you get the plant, that's kind of the hardest part right now. But as more people ask for natives and as more people seek them, they will come. So especially for your local nurseries, if you can ask either the manager or something and say, hey, I'm really looking for Blazing Star, and they might be able to get it for you. You never know. The answer might be no. Another option is if you are really not having any luck finding them, you can get them in seeds. They will need a little bit more nurturing in the beginning to get them going. And if you, put them in the right spot, and they'll do good, no problem. So you can get kind of coneflower. One brand, the seed mix that we're actually doing is from Ernst Conservation, EARNST, Ernst Conservation Seed, and so they have a whole bunch of different mixes. And then there's also like American Meadows. Really a lot of different seed companies are coming out with them too. And then the nice thing too is because these are all natives and they're not hybrids, we can collect the seeds from them as well. And so I collected some of the Coreopsis seeds and we put that up in the organic garden, and we're hoping to do a little bit more of that this year, and saving them to make more.
KB asked, will the public be able to walk the gardens this summer, depending on... I guess if you respect social distancing, we are an open campus, right?
Yeah. So we actually have one community member taking a walk with their dog right now. And this is actually a pretty nice spot to take a walk. If you cut this is Mary's Gate here, kind of by Rivermont Pizza. If you take this one and all the way down, it will bump you right onto the main entrance there. And so that's actually a pretty nice walk. And you'll be able to stop. And I am going to be leaving the tags in these, so if you do come by and you are kind of wondering, like, oh, you really like that plant, you can probably look at it a little bit and see the tags to kind of help you identify them. But yeah, we love to have people come look at it. It's definitely one of the highlights of my day, getting to play around in it. So the more the merrier.
Another question from Laura. Is there tree removal going on in the botanical garden?
Yes, there is. So there's I think it's an ash tree. It's either an ash or something else. Our ground supervisor is actually a certified master arborist, so he has been keeping an eye on that tree in particular. He has been dropping some limbs, but because of where it is, it's right behind the brick wall. It's a really it's not the safest thing to do. So we have some professional tree stewards coming in to actually crane it out, which is, we have the street blocked off and everything. They took a bunch of branches off earlier this week, and then, they're gonna take that one out. And it will get replaced. We will be putting in another tree. That's one of the things. We are a certified tree campus, so that's one of the items in our tree care plan, is to put in new trees as we take them out. We had some diseased trees over in by the Bell parking lot, and so we took those out, and we actually ended up putting twice as many back in. So little things like that. If a tree is unhealthy and we do need to remove it, for example, all of the ash trees on campus, we do have emerald ash borer here, so the trees are dying. It's just a matter of when and if they do it when we want them to. We had to drop a couple of trees back in the organic garden because of the ash borer. They were dead, and the one that we didn't take down because we were getting to it ended up actually snapping and dropping on the fence. So it's kind of balancing that. We don't really want to take them out unless we have to, but at some point you kind of need to make the call.
Wow. Well, Laura says thank you. And another question, did we briefly talk about Meadow Creation earlier? Yeah.
Briefly in the beginning. What was the question?
Just talk about, refresh Meadow Creation.
Yeah. So Meadow Creation, another term for it is low mow areas. It doesn't sound as pretty, but that's kind of effectively what it is. We've been doing it on the hillsides for a long time now. We have, as you guys know, some pretty steep hills on back campus.
Yeah.
And front campus is a little more rolling and everything, but back campus there are some spots where, I mean, you can't get a lawnmower on them. So what started out as being just making sense and not having to mow it as often is now a habitat strategy. So we've seeded it with some natives. One that we're working on right now is the hill behind the tennis courts and getting that established, and they get mowed twice a year, these low mow areas, so the hillsides, and then the meadow area over by the dell. So they get mowed twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall, and that just is mostly to keep shrubs back. So we don't want any bushes, any small trees coming up. We want to keep it meadow and flowers and grasses for that habitat in particular, which is really lacking in the urban environment. We have a lot of lawns, maybe we have a lot of trees and forests, but that kind of intermediary habitat is something that we really need to make more of. And so we have been happy to start that here at Randolph and kind of share the journey.
Yeah, clearly there's already so many bugs. A ladybug just landed on my shirt, and it's just hanging out. Yeah, and Kristen says she's so impressed with all that you know. A quick question: how did Randolph help you with your studies?
Oh yes.
I mean, obviously, other than going here.
Yeah. So I am an environmental science major. I graduated in 2018
with honors.
With honors, yes. I'm actually from Minnesota, and I knew I wanted to get out of the Midwest and kind of see something new. So I came to Randolph, and I definitely found that. And I love it here. The campus is just gorgeous. I really like the freedom that we have here to kind of pursue some of these new things. Some campuses wouldn't be willing to take the risk of trying something like this, because it's not your structured landscape in particular, and it has been a little bit of an adjustment, but being able to kind of learn more about that, work with the biology professors as well, Kristen Bliss, Doug Shedd, Ron Gettinger, all of those guys, to kind of really make sure that this is doing what it's supposed to do. Emily Smith as well in the natural history collections, having bluebird boxes, being able to learn as I go, both as a employee now, as sustainability coordinator, be able to do this kind of thing and figure it out, take the time to learn what we need to plant here, ways that we can improve, and it's kind of constantly evolving, constantly learning here, but I wouldn't change it for anything. I think I'm now 6 years in Lynchburg, and my mom is very disappointed, but but I love it here, and
Well, and your students love you, so
thank you. Yes,
and we love you.
Them. Oh my goodness.
Did you talk about all the interns she supervises every semester?
Yeah, so we do a lot of internships in sustainability here. Usually it's somewhere between 2 and 5 interns. It really depends on the students at a given time. So some programs that we have gotten up and running through internships, the Rummage Room, which was started in 2017 by Marie About, that is a kind of in-house goodwill almost to help with move-in and move-out waste. So that was entirely started by students, and honestly it's mostly maintained by students. I oversee it and make sure they have what they need. We have received 2 grants for that program as well. Marie actually helped write the original proposal to PepsiCo to get some funding to purchase some equipment for it and get the program up and running, and then we sought an additional funding from PepsiCo as well to expand it. So this year we're going to be adding a free textbook library, which allows students to they buy the books at the beginning of the semester, and come end of the semester you're not getting very much back from it. You might have paid $60 for the book, and they're going to give you back $5 or $10.
$60 is cheap.
Yeah, and that is a low-cost textbook. That's buying used and all that good stuff. And so sometimes it's not even worth sending it back, or they decide to leave it here. So we have a dedicated space now to keep those books in kind of action. We have like a lot of calculus textbooks, poetry, some of these different books that are kind of continued year after year are especially important in those as well. And so those are offered free. It's publicly available, so anybody can come and get the textbooks they need, which is really fun. Another one we did this past semester was looking at waste. So we're looking at doing some new programs in the dining hall to combat food waste. So one, we are looking at getting post-consumer composting going. We have pre-consumer composting, which is your lettuce trimmings, the tops of tomatoes, ends of cucumbers, that kind of stuff is your pre-consumer, so it hasn't gone to a plate yet. And that is composted through Lynchburg Grows, which is an amazing nonprofit here in Lynchburg. They do a lot with food security, urban food. They're a really fun nonprofit, and so we're happy to partner with them. So they come and take that, and then they compost it and use it in their facility. So we're looking at expanding it to do post-consumer, and then we're looking at some other kind of food share options that we could maybe do. And so that was an internship then. Right now I have an intern working with me remotely, working on our sustainability plan. So yeah, and we're missing our students so much. In the fall and spring semesters we have an organic gardening physical education class, and that is one of the most important parts of our class up there, is getting everything done for the garden and getting it ready for the spring, for the summer rather, and not having them has been hard. we're doing okay, but having 14 sets of hands for 2 hours is really fun, and getting to meet new students, and it's always fun to see familiar faces. I think I was supposed to have a couple of repeats in this class as well, so they had taken it in the fall and then also signed up to do it in the spring, which is kind of fun to see them again, and then they kind of know what's going on and can share what they know with others. But yeah, and then we have baby chicks going right now. We hatched them for Sci-Fest, and the students were going to be raising them, but things change, so they will be joining the flock. We do have a webcam up for that, and I can share it after the fact, and you can kind of see them run around. They're in that awkward teenage stage right now. So they're 3 weeks old, not exactly fluffy, but they have their little feathers coming in, and those were actually bred from our flock up in the organic garden. So they're all mixed breeds. There's some that are frizzled, which have crazy feathers. Some have these little mohawks coming in because they're mixed with a Polish chicken, which have these big fluffy heads. So it's kind of interesting to see what we got, and they're grown up well, and they're going to join the flock in the organic garden. So
yeah. Do we have any other questions or?
Something to mention. In addition, Allison is earning her master's degree in sustainability on top of working full time.
What?
I don't know if you mentioned that, but
You did not mention that.
there's additional awesomeness about her.
Oh, where's the degree going from?
So I'm working through the University of Wisconsin at Scout, and I'm pursuing their Master of Science program in Sustainable Management.
Wow.
So yeah, we're doing both full time. It's a lot, and of course we're gearing up for the last bit of the semester there. So, but it's been kind of fun. My economics paper right now is looking at habitat protection, actually, because of the economic productivity that pollinators provide. So I'm looking at native bees and the agricultural impacts that they have, and why that necessitates some policy changes for them to incentivize these types of plantings, field margins, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun to be able to have it all come together. But yeah, it's a lot. I'm ready for summer.
And one last thing, can you quickly talk about our bee campus certification, since you mentioned bees?
Yes, absolutely. So we are a certified bee campus, which is a initiative started by the Xerces Society. So there's two programs, Bee Campus USA and Bee City USA. So we were actually the first college in Virginia to be certified Bee Campus. Since then we've had a couple join us, but that is, we have a commitment to doing these types of plantings, doing education programs, to talk about why insects are so important, and specifically native insects at that. We do have an apiary on campus with honeybees, that we're just starting back up. It took a little hiatus for a little bit, and we now have, I think, 3 hives going up near the organic garden. And that's really exciting to have bees back on campus and get all that going. But the Xerces Society is really focused on your native bees, which are in some pretty significant decline, and it's a little bit harder to keep them going.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, breed more or anything. They need to be out doing their thing. So let's see. I think so. It's the education programs, commitment to creating habitat, and then I think those are the 2 big ones. But it's been a really fun program. It's a pretty easy program. If you are at a different campus and you are looking at it, I'd be more than happy to chat with you guys. It's not bad. I mean, especially if you're already doing some of the stuff. We have a commitment to reducing our pesticides, so we actually don't put any pesticides or fertilizer on this front lawn, and it's still this like luxurious green stuff. And we also don't irrigate it. So that's one part of the commitment also is to reduce pesticides. So it's been fun. We also did this year help the city of Lynchburg become a Bee City USA. So I helped write the declaration that went to the city council to become a bee city. It has to go through mayor and all of that exciting stuff. So that's been fun, and getting to meet some of the new people involved in that, with Blue Ridge Conservation, some of the local garden clubs, Parks and Recreation. We're doing a lot with them on some education activities and everything. So it's been exciting to expand it and get the city doing it as well.
Yeah. Well, do we have any last minute questions or comments or feedback?
And if you think of anything after the fact, we can put my contact information on there.
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
So if you have a question that you think of after the fact, or you want to see the species list, that's a good way to get it too right now, because it's not publicly available.
Right.
We're still figuring out how to get it on the website and make sure it's accessible and all of that, and be able to change it if we come up with a new thing or want to be able to edit it. So it's not quite yet, but hopefully by the end of the year. That's our goal with it. So yeah, the species list, or any questions about sustainability or this pollinator gardens, I would be more than happy to chat.
Well, happy Earth Day and happy Weeda Strong Day.
Yeah, and thank you guys for joining us. It's been fun.
Yeah, great presentation. And Kristen, Allison said they're working on sharing a list of plants and flowers ongoing, but I'm sure you can email her and ask.
Yeah, and for those of you that aren't local to Lynchburg, so that's going to be a list that we're developing, Randolph's list. That's going to be for this area, the kind of Blue Ridge area for that. But if you don't live there and you kind of need help getting started finding lists for native plants in your area, I might be able to help connect you with some resources that way as well.
Wow, you are doing a fabulous job. Everyone's just saying, thank you, you're amazing. And of course, Karen Warren and her child are amazing too. Yes.
We love Allison. We're so lucky to have her.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's it. Thank y'all so much for watching. We're going to be saving this recording, and there will be a post shortly after this kind of detailing all the good stuff. And stay tuned for other #WeedaStrong live events. Thank you.